A sudden flash split the night sky over occupied territory as a wave of Ukrainian missiles roared toward one of Russia's most fortified military complexes. For months, Ukraine had been preparing a strike so precise, so devastating, that even Russian analysts admitted they never saw it coming. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Frontline Report channel. Please subscribe and like my videos. This is the story of how Ukraine crippled Putin's arsenal in a massive revenge strike that sent shockwaves through the Kremlin, rewrote battlefield predictions, and exposed deep cracks in Russia's war machine. The footage of the aftermath is astonishing. Entire rows of ammunition depots engulfed in fire, fuel reservoirs bursting into pillars of flame, and advanced missile systems reduced to twisted metal. Ukraine didn't simply hit a target, it dismantled an entire logistical backbone that Russia spent years and billions constructing. This strike wasn't just another operation, it was a calculated response to weeks of relentless Russian assaults on Kyiv, Kharkiv, Odessa, and towns across Ukraine that were hit by drone swarms and cruise missiles. Ukraine made it clear, the era of absorbing punishment without hitting back is over. At first glance, the exterior of this strike, its sheer scale, was unlike anything seen before. Dozens of long-range Ukrainian weapons, including modified drones, precision cruise missiles, and Western-supplied systems, were combined in a synchronized attack that lasted barely 12 minutes, but those 12 minutes changed everything. Russia's previously untouchable storage hubs were vaporized. High-value weapons like Iskander's S-300 and S-400 components, shod drone parts, artillery shells, tanks, heavy armor, and command vehicles were all destroyed in one catastrophic chain reaction. Each explosion triggered three more. The fireball reached so high that satellites recorded thermal signatures comparable to a volcanic eruption. And in those moments, a significant part of Putin's arsenal evaporated. Inside this operation, the interior planning was short but strategic. Ukrainian commanders ran simulations for weeks, tested wind patterns, studied the rotation schedule of Russian air defenses, and waited for the exact window where gaps in radar coverage aligned. The planning room was silent as engineers and analysts refined every trajectory. No unnecessary steps. No risks that weren't calculated. Total focus. The interior of this mission was pure precision. The performance of Ukrainian systems during the strike stunned military experts worldwide. Missiles traveled deep behind enemy lines, bypassing Russian radar systems the Kremlin claimed were impenetrable. Electronic warfare units jammed Russian defenses, creating blind zones that Ukrainian drones used as corridors. A swarm of decoy vehicles confused Russian operators, forcing them to fire expensive interceptors at targets that were nothing more than disguised scrap metal. By the time Russia realized the real threat, the main wave was already seconds away. The strike hit ammunition bunkers first, then command posts, then fuel reservoirs. Every impact magnified the next. The performance was so well coordinated that Russian analysts quietly admitted Ukraine had reached a new technological level. What made this operation even more remarkable were the safety features implemented to avoid unnecessary collateral damage. Ukraine used low-altitude flight paths to minimize civilian risk, timed detonations to avoid residential peak hours, and deployed a real-time monitoring network to adjust mid-flight trajectories. Every weapon was programmed to hit only military infrastructure. This approach stood in stark contrast to Russia's indiscriminate attacks on Ukrainian cities, schools, markets, and apartment blocks. Ukraine's focus on precision, safety, and legality further strengthened its international alliance support. The unique selling points of this strike were not just the explosions or the damage inflicted on Russia's armored reserves. It was the message behind it. Ukraine demonstrated it can hit anywhere, at any time, with accuracy Russia cannot stop. It revealed that Western assistance combined with Ukrainian ingenuity creates a hybrid warfare machine Russia has no counter for. Ukraine used home-made modifications, secret local tech, Western guidance, and intelligence. base timing to execute a strike that neutralized weapons Russia desperately needed to continue its offensive during the winter. This strike carried an unexpected price, not in cost, but in consequence. Russia's war budget, already strained, now faces impossible math. Billions of dollars worth of weapons destroyed in minutes. Years of manufacturing lost. Factories working round the clock now must restart entire production lines. Russia's ammo shortages, long denied by the Kremlin, have reached a crisis point. Putin has fewer missiles, fewer drones, fewer artillery shells, and fewer armored vehicles than before. This strike pushed Russia to the edge of logistical collapse. As the fires burned and Russian commanders scrambled, Ukraine seized control of the narrative. The strike became a statement. Retaliation will come swiftly, decisively, and unpredictably. Footage released hours later showed Ukrainian engineers resetting launch platforms for the next wave, smiling quietly as data confirmed the magnitude of the damage they had inflicted. The world watched in disbelief as satellite images revealed craters the size of buildings, highways melted from the heat, and armored convoys incinerated before they could move an inch. Despite Russia's attempts to downplay the attack, panic spread across military channels. Russian soldiers posted videos begging their commanders to relocate remaining supplies, complaining that nowhere is safe. Panic buying erupted in nearby regions as civilians feared more explosions. Even Russian propagandists struggled to maintain composure on live television. Ukraine didn't hit a minor depot, it hit one of the pillars of Russia's entire military network. A strike of this magnitude forces Russia to rethink every supply route, every storage location, and every assumption about Ukrainian range. The psychological impact was enormous. Russian troops reported lower morale, with some refusing to unload trucks into storage facilities that could explode at any moment. Commanders requested permission to disperse supplies into tiny locations, but that created chaos and logistical bottlenecks. Russia's war machine suddenly had to operate in a constant state of fear, never knowing where the next strike might land. This operation also exposed the weaknesses of Russian air defenses. S-400 systems failed to intercept key targets. Panzer units fired until their barrels overheated yet still couldn't stop the incoming wave. The Kremlin's claim of having the world's best missile defense was shattered in real time. Videos showed Russian operators panicking, launching missiles in random directions, desperate to hit anything. But Ukraine's multi-layer attack technique overwhelmed them. The realization that even Russia's strongest bases are vulnerable shook Moscow's strategic confidence. International reactions were swift. NATO celebrated the strike as proof that the alliance's support was paying off. Western analysts noted that Ukraine's success strengthens its case for receiving long-range missiles and advanced aircraft. Political leaders praised Ukraine's restraint and precision. Meanwhile, Russia accused NATO of assisting the attack, but had no evidence to back it up. Allies saw that Ukraine, even under pressure, can achieve remarkable feats with limited resources. That message will shape future aid packages. For Ukrainians, this strike was more than military strategy. It was emotional justice. After months of living under air raid sirens, losing loved ones to Russian missile strikes, and watching neighborhoods destroyed, this operation became a moment of national pride. Streets filled with cheers when news broke. Families said they finally felt hope. Volunteers delivered food to soldiers celebrating the mission's success. For a country fighting for survival, this strike became a symbol of strength, unity, and intelligence over brutality. Russia's response has been predictable: threats, accusations, and vows of retaliation. But every expert agrees the strategic damage is already done. Russia cannot quickly replace what it lost. Factories struggle with shortages, sanctions choke imports, and corruption bleeds resources. Ukraine didn't just destroy weapons, it destroyed the illusion of Russian invincibility, and now the conclusion: Ukraine has proven that even under immense pressure, Even with limited resources, and even while facing a larger enemy, it can strike where it matters most and reshape the battlefield. This wasn't simply revenge. It was a calculated act of self-defense that paralyzed a key part of Russia's war machine. The symbolic and strategic impact will echo for months. The strike shows Ukraine is not just surviving, it is adapting, evolving, and outsmarting the world's largest nuclear-armed state. Russia's arsenal has been crippled, Putin's confidence shaken, and the narrative shifted once again in Ukraine's favor. If you want more updates and deep dive analyses, make sure to subscribe and like my videos. Your support keeps the Frontline Report channel alive as we continue to cover the most important developments in global conflict and defense. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay informed, and stay strong.